you guys, and welcome back to Breakthrough with me, your host, Tess Timmons. In today's episode, I'm super excited for you to meet Nou Vang. Nou Vang specializes in human design readings and coaching sessions. How are you doing today, Nou?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on the show. We've been excited to have this moment happen. So I'm glad Nou and I met on an airplane ride. I was going to Texas for an event, and Nou sat down next to me, and we found out that we both were going to the same event. It was with Sahara Rose. I was a member of like Sahara's Rose Gold Goddess group for a year. And so at that event, there was 3 days with primarily women, about 300 women. And yeah, we met then about a year ago, a year and a half, maybe.
Yeah. It was the highest self weekend.
Oh, highest self weekend. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any takeaways from that weekend?
Oh man. Yeah, I just remember, like I really liked the structure of the days, like how we focused on the inner child on the first day, and then the inner teenager on the second day. And that I think was the most impactful for me because I've done a lot of work on my inner child, but then when we hit the inner teenager, um, day, I was kind of like, oh wow, this is new. Like, I I never got to work and really talk to that part of me as much. So I think the second day was like the most new and impactful for me. And then the third day was our highest self day, which was also really amazing because then we get to, dream and become our higher self. And I really loved, I don't know if you remember, but the activity where they had us um, speak to ourselves from our highest self, or speak to, no, we were paired up and we had to talk to our partner as our highest self. Like, what would we say to her um, as our highest self? That was like so powerful because like then you take on the role, the identity of your higher self, and it was like such a subtle shift, but at the same time, I'm like, we could do that every day. We don't have to wait for like those instances. We could like drop into our higher self on a daily basis.
Oh, that's a good takeaway. As you were saying that to me, I'm thinking, oh, I should do that tomorrow or even this evening, right? Like talk to my higher self. I remember that now that you're telling me that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no like we don't have to wait for a conference. We can be doing that
Yeah.
on on the drive to work anytime. Yeah, that's good.
hmm
I remember like when they had all of us split into two different groups, and some of the groups stood in a line with our eyes closed, and the other group walked around that line, and they were supposed to say things that they wish they would have heard when they were younger, or things they wish they would hear now. So,
Mm.
and then we flipped and we changed experiences, and I found that to be really really empowering and beautiful, and I would like to actually do that with some teenagers at some point that I work with. Yeah, but it was cool to hear like you are beautiful, you matter, things like that that people were
Oh
whispering
yeah.
into your ear as your eyes were closed. But then it also relates to you, even though they're saying it about themselves. But yeah, it was a cool moment, I thought.
Yeah, I love that activity. And like I remember I was like bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, there were times of like tears and joy, and yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. So after meeting you on the airplane, we actually hung out that weekend, and then I was there at an Airbnb with two other women, and now we're all on a group chat, and we've stayed in contact, and it's really beautiful to see just where we have come to and having that friendship. I feel like I've known you, and it's always very peaceful when I'm in contact with you. I love seeing like where you are in your life. And one thing that New and I had talked about is I had gotten a human design reading long ago, and I had no idea that she did human design reading, and I was really excited about that. because I didn't have the most fulfilling experience with it. So I thought, oh, I feel really comfortable with New. I think it would be great to have her do a chart for me. She also understands me. It was effortless to talk on the airplane and get to know each other. I think the basics audience of what I'm talking about with human design, whether you have done this before or not, I think that all of us can learn something today about this experience. So basically, New's going to read my human design chart off, and so we can all learn about how to analyze a human design chart. And this could be for someone who's new like me, learning about how a reading goes, or maybe you want to acquire some coaching sessions and become a coach who reads human design. New can help you with any of that. The first time I looked at human design, I just found it online. I had heard people talking about it, so I researched it and I purchased a human design chart online and then filled out information about myself, and then I got the chart back with written instructions of how to look at it. But I was so bogged down in learning about the chart and how to read it that by the time I
Mhm.
was starting to figure out the chart, I kind of gave up because I wasn't sure if I was reading it right or not on my own, how to interpret it on my own, and then I wasn't getting to the highest knowledge of it, highest knowledge of it, of how to apply it. So I thought, oh, perfect, New does this. Like she can help, like really get to the depths of it. So yeah, so that's what part of this episode is going to be about today. When we're looking at human design, just to back up for a minute, maybe there's more people like me who are new to
Mhm.
it. Can you explain to us, like, what is human design and how long has this been around? And how did you come across human design?
Yeah, so human design is pretty recent if you compare it to astrology. It was channeled to this one man called Ra Uruhu in 1987, but he
Oh,
didn't start teaching it until 1992. So I'm actually older than human design. We're
awesome.
both older than human design.
I'm ancient than
Yeah.
human design. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a pretty new system, and what's cool about it is like you said, it takes your birth time, location, and date, and that's really important because in human design, like the moment you are born, you are imprinted with, depending on where the stars are, the planets, the sun, the moon, right? Everything together creates your design. And so that's why it's called human design. And incorporates astrology, it incorporates the Chinese I Ching system, it incorporates, um, did I say the chakra system already?
No. Uh,
Okay, the chakra system, and then quantum physics, and then the Kabbalah tree of life. So there's five different systems, or like little. Human design takes a little bit of each of those five, and so when you look at your chart, that's why it looks kind of crazy.
okay, so it
Yeah,
has these five different elements, and that's why in your chart, for someone like me trying to read it, it can get a little complicated because I'm looking at
yeah,
all of these systems. Okay.
yeah. And so that system together, the way I explain it to clients and people when I teach it is I really see it as an awareness system, an energetic awareness system, and it's also so it's also like a I teach and I use it really to help people understand themselves, their energies. I really teach people how to use it to accept who they already are and for them to stop trying to become who they're not. Because the thing with human design is you were born to be this design in a sense, and every design is different. So if I'm born, I'm born here, and if I'm trying to live if I'm trying to live your design, that's like out of alignment for me, right? So human design really teaches you to love and accept how you are and really appreciate how other people are and learn from other people because I have things that I can teach others and I have other people have things that they can teach me. And it's kind of like all of us together, we are different puzzle pieces, but when we come together, we make a whole. So a big aspect of human design is it's also called the science of differentiation, which is like,
Okay.
we're all different, and that's good. So I think I really loved that aspect of it. Yeah, so human design, you use it to understand your energy, yourself, love yourself. You learn where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and also where, sometimes if you have quote unquote weaknesses, it's really the places where you're supposed to be learning through life. So, after you have all the information, for me, it was like a big permission slip for me to be myself and like actually go for what I want in life without feeling like I'm doing it wrong, you know?
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It tears into the fact of like, I hear those adages of like, we're all a snowflake, we're all individual.
Mm,
Or for myself, I really think that like, I chose to come down to this earth at this certain time. So I might have different strengths because I'm here for this certain purpose. And that our purposes might be a little bit different, but that strength like will help pull me through so that like you're saying we're these puzzle pieces that work together to better society or help each other, and also learning what's not my strength. I forget what word you used, that was sounded better, but whatever my strengths are not, like that could also help me. Let's say if I'm an entrepreneur, or if I have different management skills, or how to interact with like different employees, or maybe I'm a professional athlete, like would it tier to all of these people? Would human design help everyone then?
yeah, like where I usually like to start is, yeah, like you learn about yourself, and then as I was learning and training to be a reader, I started pulling the charts of the people around me, like my fiance, my family, and you can start seeing like how they work, because we all, once we get into like the details a little bit in a little bit, you
Yeah.
understand, but you'll get start to understand like, oh, like they make decisions this way, oh, like they have this center defined or undefined, and that's why they respond this way. So it just creates more for a more understanding, more what is that word? Like empathetic and compassionate
Yeah.
way to interact with people in a peaceful way, but also in a way where you're also playing to their strengths. So, like you said, like if you're at work, if you know that your boss is a certain type or whatnot, then you can, you know how to, knowing your energy as well, right? You know how to navigate that situation in a way that best serves your energy. So human design is the energetic blueprint of you, right? So everything is about energy. Everything is about how you feel in the body. So human design is moving away from the mind and into the body.
Okay, fantastic. Which is a lot of stuff that I was learning before about embodiment, and that seems to be more of an open discussion, and things that people in general and mass uh, media is even starting to accept or understand. That's really cool. Yeah, that we're starting to come back into our bodies. That
Mm-hmm.
sounds really interesting. And also, then once I get like human design read with you, then it doesn't have to be just a one session, one and done. Now I can actually build and see like what's my mom's human design, what is an employee of mine, what's their human design. And I love what you're saying. Like I can learn their strengths and my strengths so that we can process, communicate, collaborate. That makes a lot of sense. So it can keep building on itself.
Yeah, and honestly, like what we're going to do in this today's session is like just going to be like such a small part. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there of like such a small part of what can be discovered and what we can dive into. So yeah, that's why like we can do this would be considered an introduction or a foundational reading, and then
Mhm.
at the end I'm going to share like what else there is. But yeah, there's a lot that comes into play with the chart, as you will see in a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and we're almost there, audience. I just want to help layer you in if you're new like me, so you understand.
Mm,
So basically, like you can find New on many platforms. With her Instagram, I saw a post in her stories that she was doing human design readings. I'd already known her as well, but I was like, "Ooh, now I want to sign up now." So then I DM'd her, and she sent me an invitation link, and in that link, I was able to make my payment. We also talked about like what date we wanted to decide on to talk about this, but I also gave her that certain information. So the date of my birthday, the specific time that I was born. So I went and looked and double checked on my birth
mhm.
certificate. And then also, like, I was born in Mountain Standard Time. So I didn't know if New needed that as well. So to make sure that I let her know, like, the city I was born in and the state as well. So I have not heard my chart yet. So audience, you're going to hear it along with me. And New and I thought that that would be a good way to experience this.
I've read for people before, and there can be a lot of information, right? So at first, when we learn, it's going to be very, going through our minds, and we're trying to like really logically understand it. And so there's going to be a lot of information. So what I always tell clients is take what is helpful and useful and leave the rest, right? Especially because there's going to be so much information. And I use human design to empower people. So I will be sharing aspects of your chart that will be on the shadow side, right? Like there's a range, a spectrum of how you express or experience those traits. So there's conditioning, right? We also have to think about conditioning. We grow up and we live in a society where everyone is conditioned. So um, there's also that. But just know that, like at the end of the reading, don't feel like you have to be in alignment tomorrow, right? It's
Okay.
not an overnight thing. It's like you take one thing that you can tangibly practice or experiment with, and you go with that. So yeah, I always want to share that, and also like I know that we live in a society in 2025 where society is not designed for human design to flourish, right? For us to live in alignment. So I know it's hard, but like I was saying today in in my life is that like it doesn't hurt for us to try. It doesn't hurt for us to continually move towards that goal of like yeah, aligning a little bit every day, a little bit every day. So yeah, just wanted
Okay.
to share that piece.
Yeah. Luckily for me, this is recorded. I can come back and look at it after my mind is full.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
when you have your chart, there will be different colors depending on your which generator you use online. So the color doesn't matter. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, this one is yellow here, but it's like blue in another one, right?
Okay.
So um, this is called a body graph, and these are energy centers. So you have 9 energy centers, um, and within each energy center are these numbers. These numbers represent gates. So different gates, more specific energies within each of the centers. So we have energy centers and then we have gates. And then if you look here, you have, like a black and a red channel. So they connect together. So those are called channels. And those, we consider them like your strengths, your superpowers.
Okay.
So that's kind of like what happens here. And if you have like up here, 64 goes to the 47, you have a full channel. But if you look over here at your 63,
Yep.
um, it doesn't connect to the one down here. Okay, so
Right.
it's halfway. So we call that a hanging gate. Um, and so that type of information we're not going to get to until like more advanced readings. But that's kind of like, oh, like if you have a full channel, that's a really strong strength of yours and something that you can lean into and cultivate because that's
Okay,
where
cool.
what you're here to really teach and be an example of. So
Can I
that's
ask one question on that?
yeah.
Um, for the 63, where it's half, Is it about accepting that it's half and living with that, which is totally fine? Or is it about how do I stretch that? How do I grow that? How do I fill it? Like, how do you, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
I
great
think because of
question.
the
Yeah,
society we live in, it's like, fix it, do it. Or do I also just say, okay, I have half? Yeah.
yeah, that's a great question. Yes, it is about knowing that you will always feel like you need the other half. You need the four, so you will feel conditioned. You will feel like, oh, like there's a part of me that I'm missing. So when you hang out with someone who has that a four, which is the other side, you will feel good. And that's because they bridge that for you. But yes, the numbers that are across that you don't have can become a source of conditioning for you, where you're always striving to be better at um, becoming like um, the gate four is the gate of answers, right? So it's you will be searching, for that your life. So it's like you said, it is about realizing and learning and accepting that, and um, so that you don't think something's wrong with you because you don't have the four.
And so then that really makes sense with what you're talking about with the puzzle pieces, that these are
Mm-hmm.
strengths that others can bring, and then it locks it in, and we're community and we're together, and it's fine. Oh, this is really
Yeah,
cool. It's cool to see what you can accept and, like you're saying, release from it. Okay. I
yeah.
won't dissect everything. I just wanted to ask that question at the beginning for anyone
Oh
else who's
yeah,
new like me.
yeah. No, I was gonna say at the beginning, like, interrupt me. Like I like that
Okay.
because a goal for me this year is, as I'm doing readings, I want to learn more from you. I want to learn, like, oh, like what questions you have, like how you experience it, and all that stuff. So feel free. Okay, so that's um, the body graph. So that's what it's called. And so you have these things on the right side, and these are where astrology comes in. These are the symbols of, like, the sun, the earth, the moon, right? The planets are on this side. So and each planet means a different thing. And the numbers here are the gates that you will find, like 63 here. You see that's the 63 that we were talking about earlier, and
Mm-hmm.
that gate is placed in your sun. And of course, like, that means something, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. But that's just how you're going to read it. You're going to be like, oh, my gate 63 is in the sun placement. And so these are, yeah, go ahead.
It also shows me like how complex this is and how many layers there are. So it would benefit me to do multiple sessions with you so I can gain more. But like you're saying, don't overwhelm yourself at first. But this is really cool because it gives me something that like it's kind of a chapter within a novel that I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at. This is cool. Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much. I've never understood this really.
Yeah, I love the analogy. It is definitely a chapter, and it's like the introduction. Yeah, so you have the planets, and then you have the gates, and then there's this decimal point, and then a number, right? That number is its own thing too. They're called the lines. And in human design, there's 6 lines. So what the lines does is adds flavor, personality to the gate. So that is what that decimal point means. And on this side, it says the personality side, which is sometimes, a lot of time, referred to as your conscious side. So everything on the right side over here is going to be energies that you are more conscious of, logically, like in your mind, when you learn about these things on the conscious side. So because you see that there's the right side, and then on the left side, there's the design side. The design side is where it's more your body. It's your unconscious, your subconscious. It just is.
Cool.
So if you're not really tapped into your body, like, you might not identify as much with these gates on this other side, right? Because they live just in your body, like when you were born.
Okay. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and so that's the difference between the two. And if you see on the personality side, they're all black. So you can see that. they color coordinate with the channels. So if you see black here, you see that the 12 going to the 22, it's
Okay.
a totally conscious channel, and
Uh,
there's conscious gates.
yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah. So you can
great.
kind of, afterwards you can kind of look and see like, oh, I got a red one over there and a black one, a conscious one and an unconscious one.
Okay. That's great. I'm also thinking like anyone watching this episode who understands human design is getting to know me more than I am.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, I really know this chick. No, but this is really cool. And then really making me want to dive into that unconscious, subconscious side to understand
Yeah.
what's going on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is neat just to even basically understand how to read the chart. Thanks for like navigating the map. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. It's the map. And so the last piece would be these arrows. And these arrows are like when you train in human design, we actually don't get like fully trained in the arrows because they go deeper, like a lot deeper than human design already goes. But these are the four arrows that deal with your environment. What kind of environment do you thrive in the most? What perspective you have, like what digestion, how you digest food slash life in general. So that's what these different arrows, if they're pointing a certain way, they say yours this way, and if it's pointing right, then you're a different way. So that's what those arrows are for. But they're also something that like I only touch upon in my like longer container coaching, human design coachings. So as of
That
right
makes
now, you
sense.
can ignore the arrows.
But if someone is like, let's say, moving or considering a move, could they go and get counsel from you about like maybe it would tell them places that they might do well as far as geography or atmosphere or warm weather or something?
Mm. So it's not like geographically in terms of environment. It's more like where can you be to allow your energy to thrive. So
Okay.
an example would be like for me, my environment is markets. That's what human design calls it. And markets just means it's not literally the market, but it can be. But it's just anywhere where it's busy. There's other people doing different things, and I'm just sitting in their energy as they're doing their things. So like cafes work really well for me to
Oh,
be in my best energy to do the best work. So I that's why I love going to cafes because I can do my own thing and like my energy can like tap into other people's energies, right? Because I was telling you earlier, we bridge each other's gates. So I work best when I'm out and about in other people's energies. Yeah.
okay. Do those arrows correlate with the arrows that are like
Oh,
facing up
these
and
ones.
down? Yeah. Are
No,
those
no. Those are like a deeper level of like, oh, if you have it going up, then you will have an easier. We don't know why not all of them have it, but if they're going up, then you have an easier time expressing and working with that gate. But if it's going down, like on the 42 over here going down, it just means it's going to be a lot more challenging for you. It has the potential to be more challenging. So that those arrows are different.
okay, cool. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm already
So
like, I'm
that,
booking like 25 sessions with you. I'm already fully in. This is fascinating.
yeah, so that is the chart. So what I like to do now is stop sharing for a little bit because usually like I don't want the client to get like all like, distracted.
Okay.
So I'm gonna stop sharing because I'm going to talk about your type, your strategy, and your authority, which are like the very basics of like when you look up human design, the first thing they're going to tell you is your type, right? And as you probably know, you're a manifester. Do you know anything about that?
I don't. Yeah. And how many different types are there? You don't have to list all of them, but no, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
so
I
there's
read about it a little bit a few years ago, but I was so bogged down that I didn't really retain any of it.
yeah. There's five types. Yeah. So sometimes I might reference the other types to help you understand your type,
Okay.
but the manifester, um, so yeah, there's the manifestors, which are you. There's the generators. There's the manifesting generator, which is me. There's the projectors and reflectors. And how I want, how I usually like to paint the picture is like there's five types, and we all are here for specific roles, specific reasons, energetically. And so, as a manifester, you are here, your strategy is to initiate. And so, as a manifester, we all have auras, okay? So, your aura is more self contained. In human design, the guy who channeled human design has very strong vocabulary. Like when he labeled certain things, it's not the most empowering. So sometimes, like I reference his, his words because we want to give credit where credit is due. But sometimes I like to rephrase his terms because, like,
Okay.
he says your aura is closed and repelling, but I would
I love how you like preface that so I could be ready to take it in. Yeah. Okay. Wait, I showered. I smell okay. Okay.
right. So that's why I say it's like self-contained
Hmm.
and protective.
But it
You know,
makes a
be,
lot of sense to me, actually. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, well, that's good. Because yeah, because since I don't have that aura or just that energy type, to me, I'm like, that's offensive. That could be offensive. But but everything that I'm gonna say is it. The core of it all is to protect your energy
Mm.
so that you can do what you and be who you're meant to be in this world. So your aura is closed because you work very well independently. Like manifestors are the only ones of the types that actually don't need people. So it can be an very independent type, and it can be hard for them if for their partners if their partner doesn't really understand that about them, because not that they don't love their partner, but it's just like they're like, I'm good, your energy is good by itself, versus like the other types who kind of need that the other type's energy more. So that's
Okay.
something like that manifestors are a lot more independent. Manifestors get they're the only type that I guess in the spiritual world we say are the real manifestors. Like they are the ones that are going to initiate and make things happen. Or you guys are really tapped into God's source or whatnot, and whatever ideas come to you guys are going to be, you are supposed to initiate and manifest it into reality, whether it's ideas or whether it's you actually going and making it happen. So manifestors has this very powerful energy about them, and at the same time, manifestors don't have in human design. They so Let me try to like explain it in the most simple way. Human design, we there's two types that have the sacral defined. That's one of the energy centers. So we call them sacral beings, and then there's the three other types that are not sacrals. And sacral just means you have a battery, an energy that you can use, and it'll last a long time. So you have a lot of energy. So for manifestors, you are a non-sacral being. So that means you have bursts of energy, but you really need to rest because you're not meant to work like long periods of time before you rest. So there's a lot more. You have a lot of ideas, so it can feel like you need to act on all your ideas, and you need to like create into the world like all these things that are channeling through you, all these ideas. But just being mindful of the fact that as a non-sacral being, which we will go into once we look at your centers,
Mm-hmm.
you need rest. And so that's just a little bit about the energy type. There's so many other like things that like can be said about being a manifester, but so far, just like the little bit that I've shared, um, how does that land for you?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to me. Sometimes other people will be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going out tonight. I'm going here. I'm going there," and there's certain times when I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know how you can go out and do all of that. Like I was just at work. I need to take a break." Or I will go to the gym, or I will go out hiking by myself and rejuvenate. But to be like going all weekend long is not really my thing. Like I do need breaks in between, or even if I travel, it can be something slower that I'm doing. But yeah, that makes sense. But I also do get a flood of ideas. So I do get overwhelmed with like, which idea do I pull forth first? Or I might have five different things that I'm working on. But if I overwhelm myself, I can get burnt out. And then one of my ideas kind of goes stagnant because it's too much maybe all at once. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. I was also thinking on another plane of like, okay, I wonder if the manifestors are some of the ones that like we'd want to send out first. Let's say we're going to like conquer another planet or go into another universe. Maybe we want to send them first because they're okay by themselves and they can kind
Oh
of be
yeah.
like the foot soldier that goes out there. See, those are weird places my brain goes. But yeah, this is really
Wow.
interesting. I think it's cool. And it's good to know
Yeah.
these skills, like you're saying, if when I'm around other people, um, I don't know, I'm very direct. I have a lot of ideas, and so I don't mean to be pushy. I have like all these ideas that are coming out, but
Hmm.
also that I could seem a little bit perhaps cold or something because I keep that
Hmm.
energy to myself a little bit, and that I'm perfectly fine doing stuff on my own. And I do
Hmm.
think that that would be important for people in personal relationships with me to understand. Even like in my
Yeah.
friendships with people that I travel with, I'm totally fine going off and doing something by myself for a couple hours and I'll come back later. So yeah, I think that's that would make sense with like helping people understand how I interact, that I'm not like upset or anything. I still love them and care
Right.
for them, but I'll also see you later.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
helpful. It's really teaching me a lot already about my strengths and how to communicate that to other people.
Exactly. And that leads beautifully into your strategy, which is to inform.
Okay.
So because you guys are like very different, um, to create like the least resistance for you. So strategy is basically what how you move throughout the world in your life with the least resistance, energetic resistance from other people, right?
Okay.
So for manifestors is to inform, like you just said, like you just need to inform people, whether it's a decision, whether it's like, oh, I want to do this, I'm going here, like, hey, I'm thinking about this, because since and manifestors move fast too, right? You can be like from here to here, you're like, you may think people are like too slow for you, and they should be faster.
Mm-hmm.
So, so sometimes you may be moving so fast. So that's why informing will create less resistance around you when you're around other people. So the strategy is to really help you live and be in community with other people.
That makes a lot of sense. Like even big projects that I take on at work, like to just make sure I'm informing them because I'm getting a lot of stuff done. And I have to remember that like I'm moving at a different speed and that other people aren't lazy or not doing their job. They're just
Right.
running in a different machine. So that helps to not create like conflict on a project that we're working on together. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's like less judgment, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm aware that I just move faster, so let me inform. And a key point about informing is that informing doesn't mean asking for permission, right? It's just what it is, informing. So the low expression or the shadow of this side would be like some manifestors would rather not tell anybody what they're gonna go do or do, because there's just too much energy that needs to be to be exerted. So they would just go and do things or just disappear, and that could lead to even more resistance or more, just tension between you and like whoever, the parties that you're around. So just, yeah, just think like, but they do that because they think that informing means they have to ask for permission. So just, realizing that, yeah, it's just informing. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Last year I was speaking at a conference and I didn't inform a lot of my personal friendships. I just dove into getting ready for a conference, and then people later were like, "Where have you been?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" Like I didn't really think much of it, and I didn't understand that like they care. They like to hear back often and communicate. And I was like, "Oh, it's just a couple
Mm,
months. Like I was working on stuff."
yeah.
But yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Like I didn't think to clear that out. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that is the case. Like I've heard, like a lot of manifestors say that, like honestly, like when they do stuff because they're so independent, they don't even think that other people care. They're like, huh, and they just go about. And then when other people like either complain or they're like, what, so that's funny.
Yeah, that makes so it helps me to create compassion or empathy and then understand that I should inform them, or if they are caring, they're just caring. They're not trying to figure things out or tell me what to do. They're just caring.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Hey, when you
yeah.
said that there's five types, are there any types that are there less of some or
Oh
um
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That is a very good question. Manifestors are the least. You guys
I
are
was
about
wondering. Yeah.
9%. I'm sure the stats might be different now, but 9%.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense with what you're saying about learning what you are so you can accept yourself. Because I think growing up, sometimes I would feel really lonely, not feeling like I connect with people. But if I know that, like, maybe simply there's less of us, or learning how to inform others so I feel connection, then I wouldn't
Mm,
feel so strange or isolated. Or,
yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay. Puzzle
yeah,
pieces
yeah,
in my own story.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, so that is your type and your strategy. And then there are these things called like your signature themes, which are basically feelings that you feel in your body when you are moving and living in alignment, and when you're not. So your in alignment theme is peace. So usually what I ask clients is like, okay, how do you know when you how do you feel peace in your body? Like what does it feel like, right? Because again, like I said earlier, it's all about how you feel. So like you can't think, oh, hey, am I peaceful, right? Like am I peaceful right now? It's like, can I think back to situations where I actually feel genuine peace in my body? Because it's tapping back into that, so that if you know how peace feels, then when you're moving throughout life, you know, right? Like it's like a, what do you call it? Like kind of like a check for you, right? Like it's an energetic check of like, hey, am I moving in the right path, or am I not? Because the other end, if you're not and you're just doing things like, maybe you're burning yourself out, or you're maybe taking on uh, things that are not aligned for you energetically in the moment, is anger. So these
Mm-hmm.
are the two themes of manifestors, is peace and anger, and they can really help you navigate, your decisions in life, and like to help tell you like if you're going in the right direction or not.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Hmm. And I think that's beautiful of like, don't think about it. How do you think about if you're peaceful, but when have you felt that before? And what does it feel
Hmm.
like? Okay. And that's that whole embodiment and really like listening to our bodies. Because
Yeah,
sometimes our bodies know before our mind, right? Like, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
hmm,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll have to like
So
really feel that and like think, not think that over, but feel that over.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's a muscle, it's a muscle, and this is going to lead into the next part, which is your authority of how you make decisions. But yeah, everything we have to go back to remembering that human design is the body. It's all body language, emotions and feelings, and in human design, the mind, there is an energy center in the mind, but that the mind is never going to be the decision maker. So um, we're going to move into your authority, which is how manifestors make decisions, how they're designed to make decisions. What do you call it? That will serve their highest, energetic potential.
Hey,
Yeah.
Nu, can
So
I ask you one question about peace? I think
yeah.
sometimes we think peace has to be, I don't know, like in my brain, I think about like advertisements for peace, like sitting and meditating and
Mm,
stillness. But could peace also be when you feel at joy? Maybe you're running on the beach and the sun is out and your body feels light and free. Could that also be peace? It doesn't have to be like I'm sitting in stillness, right? I could also feel
yeah.
excitement and joyful. Like that could still be peace.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
Okay.
really good clarification because yeah, everybody feels peace differently, right? And
Okay.
in different situations, it might be different because um, like I don't know for sure, but like my brother-in-law, like his, I'm pretty sure he's a manifester. Just like everything just aligns. But we don't know his birth time, so we can't find that out. But his piece is fishing, right? And that to him is like, yeah, it is quiet, it is peaceful. But like you said, like maybe peace for you is like running on the beach and like, feeling the sun on your skin. So peace does show up differently for everyone and in different scenarios too, right? So yeah, it's definitely like knowing yourself and trying different things and seeing like, oh yeah, that's what feels peaceful to me, and then being able to return to those to that peace.
That's cool because I can also then kind of track that in the next couple weeks of like when I'm feeling that in my body or just noticing it like, oh, you're feeling it right now. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. See, that's why I love having someone to conversate with, because then I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't talk about that part. I didn't talk about that part.
Oh no,
There's so much.
yeah, I'm helping you hit that goal of like I want someone who will ask questions and engage. I'm like, oh, are you ready for this? Yeah, this is fascinating. It's cool. And I'm hoping, audience, too, that you are learning a lot just from, um, yeah, just from this whole process. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so the last piece before going into your energy centers is, like I said, your authority, which is how you make the most aligned decisions. And this, like, just because you're a manifester doesn't mean you will always have this authority. So authority is different. It changes for every type. Um, so just because I'm a manifesting generator doesn't mean I will always have a sacral authority. So that's just something that I want to, point out, because like all manifestors have the theme of peace and anger. All manifestors' strategy is to inform, but the authority piece is different, and it depends on your specific chart. So for you, you are an um, emotional. Your authority is an emotional authority. Yes, that's yes. So an emotional authority. So basically, that means you your energetic type is never meant to make decisions in the moment. Your answers don't lie in the now.
That makes a lot of sense because I do try to remind myself, like, sleep on that decision. Don't make a decision
Mm,
in this moment. Um, yeah, or yeah, my feelings
yeah.
can lead me to some different situations. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. See, you're so in alignment already.
Well, and I'm also like, I'm also like a perimenopausal woman. I'm like, oh, don't even tell me about emotions right now. You don't want me making decisions on certain emotions, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So in human design, people with a defined emotional center, that's what makes you your authority, emotional authority, and that just means that you experience a wave of emotions, and you can have lots of emotional ups and emotional downs, and so that is why your authority is to wait to decide, and usually it's like at least 24 hours, but obviously, like these are for like bigger decisions. If you're deciding what to eat, obviously, it's don't wait.
I love
But
that. That's good.
yeah, so it's like you wait till you are in a place of neutrality, and even that alone can be challenging, right? Because some people are like, well, when am I neutral? So that's where it all goes back to like, you gotta know your body. You gotta be present in your body to realize, okay, I'm like, I felt the ups, I felt the down, I feel neutral now. And then you ask yourself that question of the decision you have to make. And from that place of neutrality, you make your decision.
Hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I think with being a Pisces, I have tons of emotions, and
Yeah.
that example too of the wave. I could
Mm-hmm.
definitely understand where that's coming from because and also working with my own trauma and identifying my trauma. So I can
Mm-hmm.
understand in this wave, is it triggering something from my trauma, or where am I seeing this from? If new information is coming to me, right? About
Mm-hmm.
whatever decision I'm making. And so to really let it settle. And it totally
Mm-hmm.
makes sense that it can take over 24 hours. But that's even
Yeah.
helpful for me of like, hey, it's okay if you need to sleep on it and really make a
Mm-hmm.
full sound decision. Like when I'm in an interview process and getting hired for a job, I cannot say
Yeah.
yes or no right away. And then even hunting for a place to live, I've had to tell like
Mm-hmm.
landlords and stuff, like I really need to like wait, but like here's my deposit, but I need to think about it, right? Like, yeah, it makes sense. Hmm.
Mm, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or with
and
humans, I'm like, calm down.
yeah, yeah, and so it's all about learning to like if for people who are like if you like for your audience if you guys look up your design and you are an emotional authority as well, the easiest way to start practicing this is if you have to make a decision, just say I'll get back to you. Just like automatically, because you know that like those types of stuff, like if you can't say no in the moment or if you can't decide, like just always say it's always safe to just tell them or whoever, right, that you'll get back to them. Like that's a good practice for emotional authorities to have.
Oh, that's great for that wording so that we, because sometimes it is hard. You don't want to say like just no, right? The
Mm-hmm.
other day, my boss had asked me about something, and I waited several days and let it sit with me, and then I emailed back no thank you, and I actually didn't give further explanation than that. It was just something else I just didn't want to take on. But that's really helpful to have that wording. Like, wait, can you tell me it again?
Um, uh, an example would be I'll get back to you.
I'll get back to you. Yeah, that's really
Mm-hmm.
helpful. I'll get back to you. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's very clear, but it's also not emotional either. I'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just not
Yeah.
on dinner. You got to eat, okay? I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. Okay, that's helpful. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, so those are the basic things that are basic, but it takes practice. It takes experimentation. It's what human design likes to call it. We call it your human design experiment. So, because you're really like gonna experiment with like, okay, I'm gonna say, I'll get back to you. That's an experiment, right? You have to do that. You gotta experiment like, okay, what does peace feel like? Oh, I'm sure we know what anger feels like.
Oh, you know, yeah. But this is really great, like you're saying, hey, after I do your reading of human design, it's not like tomorrow you're expected to know this, or that it takes practice. We're human, and you're going to like move into this space. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
because
totally makes
you're
sense.
retraining your body, and that, is like it's been years in the making. So it's like, okay, we got to do a little bit at a time. So even though it's basic foundation information, that's like the hardest part because it's always goes back to like, okay, what's your authority? Like, what's your strategy? Like the very basics. And now we can move into the energy centers, and that's going to be the last piece that we cover. So the top triangle here is your head center, and that is the center for inspiration. If you think about it, like the way I like to think about it, it makes it easy, is that like it's the head, it's where you are connecting straight to like source, right? Or God or Mother Nature. And that's where you get ideas and inspirations and um, yeah, so when you said like you have a lot of ideas and stuff like that,
Yes.
so that comes right into your head center. So that's the energies that live in the head center, is those energies of, oh, ideas, questions, um, inspiration. Okay, so that's the theme of the head center. And then we move down to the mind, or it's also known as the ajna,
Okay.
and that is the center for conceptualization, not ideas, conceptualization of the ideas, right? So if you kind of see it as like a funnel, so it goes through the head into the ajna, which conceptualizes those ideas and those inspirations. That's where beliefs are created. That's where opinions are formed.
Mm.
And so this is like the logical mind. So that when we think of like, oh, we're too logical, that's what the ajna is. It's the mind, it's the those are the energies that live within that. And you see how there's 6 gates in here. Well, once we dive into the gates, you'll see that each individual gate is functioning with the theme of beliefs, opinions, and conceptualizing things. So that is, yeah, so they kind of go down. And so after you're done with conceptualizing your beliefs and opinions and stuff, it goes into this square, which is the throat center, which is the communication center, right? So it is going down there to be communicated and manifested. So this human design also calls your throat center, your communication and manifestation center. And as you can see here, this center has the most gates, because all energies from the whole body graph, your whole body, is trying to get to the throat to be expressed, communicated, and manifested. So there's a lot of activity going on in the throat.
Is that the same
And
for everyone or no? That's like with mine. Or is that how they all go?
in terms of, no, and yeah, they all energies try to go to the throat for everyone. hmm Yeah, so from the throat center, the communication center, we go down to this diamond, and this diamond is the identity center. So the themes for the identity center is direction in life, love. Yeah, so it's a lot about direction and love and your identity, right? Like who you identify as. So those are the energies that live in this center right here. And we move on to the red one here, and that is the ego slash willpower center. And that is a center, um, yeah, I guess, yeah, so where the ego is, where motivation lives. Well, you have the willpower to, the energy, the willpower to do things, to complete things. That is where you will see like challenges of worth, like personal worth, value, and how you see yourself.
Yeah, look at my huge shadow line right there. That all makes it's all aligning for me now. Yeah. Uh, I'm like, well, look at me. I'm void of love.
No.
I'm just kidding, audience. I have no idea how to
Yeah.
read this, but it's fascinating. Yeah, it's cool. But I
Yeah,
am.
yeah. After I go through the themes, I'll tell you kind of like what that means when it's colored and when it's not.
Also makes sense of like, for me personally, I would way rather like pay you to talk me through this so that I can get to the deeper meaning because this sounds like
hmm
so much training and experience. Like this is a full-time job in and of itself, reading this. So I really
Yes.
appreciate that like you know how to do this rather than right at the beginning when I'm trying to figure this out on my own. I would way rather have
Oh, yeah.
someone who is trained in this to teach it to me. That's cool.
Yeah. So we go after the ego, will center, we go to this other triangle, and this right here is your emotional center. So because so this is what creates your emotional authority. So
Mhm.
the emotion center is like, if you can really, it is the emotional intelligence center. Um, it is feelings, emotions. I'm pretty sure that's self-explanatory, but yeah. So that is that those energies here, and then we move into the middle with this square, and that is the sacral center. So as I said to you earlier, there are sacral beings and then non-sacral beings. your non-sacral because this is not like fully, it's not colored in.
Hmm.
And the sacral is like life force energy, battery power, sexual energy, creativity. So those are some of the powers of, or the themes of the sacral center. And moving to the left, over here, this other triangle is the splenic center. And that is the survival instincts center. We got some like physical, like this is like survival on the physical level, right? So some like fears to make sure you are safe, right? The desire to stay safe. This is where you know, like if you are doing well or not well with your health, it also shows up, you know, it can be maybe an imbalance or um, maybe you are living too much in the shadow of your, the shadow frequencies of these gates in the spleen center. But most important of all, it is the intuition center. So in human design, your authority is your intuition in a sense, but the intuition as we know it, I feel like, you know, in the spiritual world, intuition um, comes to people in different ways, but in human design, the intuition center is this splenic center right here because it is just a knowing, because a knowing of whether something is good, bad, right, or wrong.
Yeah,
That's the
I was
splenic
watching
center.
season 2 of Squid Games and I was so proud of myself because in the first 2 episodes I was like, I knew that about that character. I already had that feeling. But I think it's also fascinating when you're talking about this is a blueprint that I'm coming down with, and then it also has impact on health. So maybe there's certain things that are already tied into, like I'm exercising, I'm eating well, but there are, we know now, I don't think in the 80s we put all of this together, but we know now that there's certain traumas or certain things we're dealing with or how to let go, or that that's also
Mm-hmm.
affecting our health. But interesting that that can be imprinted on us before we're
Yeah.
even down here. And that's always what I've wondered about, like, before I come down to earth, have I had a conversation with source, God, whomever, and we already decided on certain plans? I've wondered about that. Like, hey, did I come down here and I wanted to experience X, Y, and Z, these certain themes, even
Yeah.
sorrow and certain happiness, right? Are there challenges that I was up for that? So it's very interesting that there's stuff already impacting your health. And it also completely makes sense that the more we listen to our intuition and understand our bodies and heal our trauma, that that affects cancer or what we eat or if we're overeating and all of these things
Mm-hmm.
that weren't so conscious and not really talked about even in the 80s and early 90s on a mass
Yeah.
scale in America. Yeah, that's really cool. And
Yeah.
that makes sense
So
of when human design was invented as well, like helping us to have these discussions. That's
yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, so that's the splenic center, and then just the last center down here is the root center.
Okay.
So the root center is the center for, you know, pressure. That's where you feel pressure, stress. It pressures you to like do stuff, go do stuff, right? To take action. And so, yeah, those are the 9 energy centers. And so let me get, I feel like maybe I should have started with like what it means if it's colored or not, but here we go. um, but I always say, and I forgot to say this, is that we all have everything, even if it's not colored in. Like it's inside of us dormant. So um, that is always something that I want to remind clients because they always say like, oh, I don't have this gate or, you know, I don't have this center. So as I shared earlier, I like to empower people and help them realize that they do have it. It just depends on who they're around that will activate that dormant gate within them. So I'll get
Oh,
into that because
cool.
yeah, so when it's colored in, that means you are consistently experiencing that energy internally. So kind of see it as like you're inside, right? Inside that center, you are the one like that are taking in the information and you it's consistent for you and you are always going to feel that energy, regardless of who you're around. And when you go around other people, they feel it like vibing off of you. So whatever you're colored in, that's your definition. That's what we call it. It's your definition. It's your superpower. It's like what you're here to be like a walking example of. And where you're not colored in, that's where you take in other people's energies and you amplify it. So that's where you're able to feel other people's like if we go back to like your direction center, right? You, so since you don't have it colored in, you can be around other people and you can really be able to pick and see that and take in their energy of like, oh, if you listen to them and you watch them, you can actually see where they what 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 direction they're going in life, or like, oh, you can see like whether they have a sense of self. You're able to see that because you're absorbing their direction. And so for you, it's inconsistent because it depends on who you're around. So the white is known as like being flexible. It is where you are going to, I guess, I don't call it weakness, but it's where you're going to gain wisdom because you're going to learn from different people. Like when you're around, you know, this guy or this girl, like they're going to have different centers defined. So like if you go down to like the sacral center, right? I have mine defined. So when you're around me, you're gonna feel my energy. You're gonna feel, and you're gonna amplify it. So when you amplify it, that means like you feel it a lot more than I do. Like I may be energetic, but when you're around me, you're like even more energetic, than
Oh,
me, because we naturally just amplify it back out.
oh,
So it kind of
cool.
comes in and then it goes back out, uh, extra amplified.
So if you're done being around me, do you feel drained or do you feel amplified? Like, do I bounce it back to you? Like I'm taking some from you?
Um, no, for me, when you're around me, because because you have gate 9 here,
Oh,
you have gate 9 and you have gate 42. I don't have those. So when I'm around you, you actually bridge my channels. So I feel good.
oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah, but in terms of energy wise, I don't feel anything because like I said, because I'm defined, I'm always consistently, I have a consistent sense of how I receive and feel my energy, my
Mhm,
battery, so it
mhm.
doesn't affect me.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is interesting, and now I see why I'd want like readings with people that I know. But it also helps me
Yeah.
understand like when I met you, boom, like right away, like how easy that was. That's cool.
Yeah. So where you're white, or where not even just white, right? You see how like up here in the head you have 61 not colored in, right? So that just means that, well, you won't feel that energy until somebody else lights it up for you. So when I say, that's why I said earlier, what you don't have color in will be dormant, and it can be affected by two things. So the first thing is the transits. So in human design, if you just look up human design transit every day, it'll show a chart of what is defined for the day. So let's just pretend that today 61 is defined. So yesterday 61 is dormant for you. This is the gate of inner truth. So if yesterday you wouldn't feel it, but today, because the transit is um, is in that gate, for everyone, it's for everyone. So it will wake it up within everyone, and for that day, we all experience that energy, and then tomorrow you won't experience it anymore. So that's kind of how you understand, like, okay, so I don't, like, it's dormant, it's just dormant within you. So are all these gates that are not colored in. If they're colored in, they are where you are meant to lean into and learn more about and study and just embody more,
Hmm.
because that's what you're here to consistently feel and show to others, right? Because someone who doesn't have like the 63, like I don't, I'm going to learn it from you, right? Because, or when I'm around you, then it'll light it up within me, But I'm going to learn that 63 from you.
This is a great way. I'm just shock. I'm getting a lot of ideas, you guys. But this is a great way that I'm thinking, like, man, why don't we teach this in early elementary school? And it would help, especially in our American, but we're shifting, and that's a breakthrough moment that I'm excited about that's happening as far as like not having this American competitive old school 1980s Wall Street attitude of really looking at we need community, and this is like
Hmm.
you're sparking this in me, and this is awakening for all of us today, and where's that coming from? And so it's really
Yeah.
fascinating and helping us find the positive, but also how to interact with each other, and that we need each other, and what we can gain from each other, so that can change how we see each other, that we're not
Right.
in
Yeah.
competition. We can pull up a chair and there's more room. Like, this is awesome.
Hmm.
Mm.
Exactly. That's why I love it so much. Like our world would be so much more peaceful. There's that word.
Yeah.
Peaceful. Yeah. So,
Oh.
um, yeah, so I think that is where I'm going to stop for now.
Mhm.
Do you have any questions about that's coming up for you after I went over the centers and then like the definition and the openness?
Yeah, I think everything sounds really clear. I am also glad this is recorded so I can re-listen to it again. Um, yeah, I mean, it's sparking off 1,000 ideas and questions for me, but I will want to do another session with you. But everything you've explained makes sense. It makes me feel excited and happy. It also makes me feel more a part of community to learn this.
Hmm.
Like, I already can feel that in my body right now. And I also
Hmm.
feel more enlightened, like, oh, like this here I am. Like, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
vibrating higher. I'm understanding more with clarity of what's going
Oh,
on.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yay.
No, yeah, this is so great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to take more time on this part, but I do want to let the audience know that hopefully they're seeing some things that could be asking questions within their own mind as well, as far as, oh, I wonder where I am in this alignment, or maybe they're looking at the other side of this of, man, I want to train other people in human design as well, or understanding like what your other offerings are. So if people are
Hmm.
interested in getting a human design reading, if they want to be trained in human design, if they want coaching, or any other things that you have coming up, like how can we get a hold of you? And yeah, what else would you like to share in that regard?
Yeah. So, I didn't share this at the beginning, but last year I took a whole year off of my business, like on sabbatical. So I am coming back, fresh and new this year, and I have two current human design. I'm like revamping all my offers. So, actually today is the first day that I launched my current human design offer. So I have um, two, but technically three offers. So the first offer is going to be a similar reading to this. It is a foundational reading,
Mm-hmm.
and so that will be similar to this. And um, yeah, we will, do the similar thing, and we'll go over their chart and all that stuff. So that is the foundational one. Second, the next offer is a more advanced one. So not advanced as in like it's next level. So you know how we went through the energy centers today. Well, when we go into the next level one, then we go into the we look more into the energy centers and the how it shows up in your life, right? Because we kind of just went through the themes today, but it shows up differently, and then we get to talk about how it shows up, and then we go into the gates that are defined for you in those, and then there's channels, and then there's a lot more. There's circuitry, there's profile lines, then there's those planets, and so the the more advanced reading that is the next level up, and that one's more personalized. So that one for sure I'm gonna like have questions where you're gonna ask, but it could be like, oh, you just come and like do a deeper dive, or if you have specific questions about, because in human design, there's also your incarnation cross, which is your life's purpose. So there's also like, those little things that people like to get a better understanding of. And that's the more the next level of reading. And third option is to bundle the two together.
Okay, so we can get a hold of you through Instagram. Are there other outlets that you prefer, or is that the best one?
Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
I am on both, and so yeah, send me a DM on Facebook or Instagram. That's mainly where I'm at. I do have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
Or you could, if people are not on social media and they just want to email, you can also put my email down below as well,
Okay.
at iamnewvang at gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. So we'll have all of those in
Yeah.
the show notes as well. Yeah. Audience, I just want you to, I hope this was worth your time. I know this was worth your time, but I'm really excited, either if we're introducing human design to you or if this is something you already have a passion for, that this is a great opportunity to share this with someone that you know. It also brings up, great questions that you might have about yourself or how to work with other people, or really shows the need for community and the need for all of us together. So please like, subscribe, and share this with people. I think that would be it would help humanity. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it's great. So thank you so much for your time, New, and have a great day. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.